I'm AJ Bianco, host of Reflect Ed, a part of the Education Podcast Network. Just like the show you're listening to now, shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Bryon Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood, to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at FreshAirAtFive or check out my website, BryonCarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected. Hey there, welcome to episode 18 of Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. This week, I'm going to take a different spin on my sharing, and I'm going to start sharing with you some things about myself personally that I haven't shared before on my podcast. Not a lot of too much information things, but just a little bit more about Bryon Carpenter and what makes me tick, what makes me crazy, what makes me excited about life. Education's one of those things, you know that, but what else is going on there? And so each day this week, take a listen, and I'll try to remember to share a little tidbit of some of the fun things that I do, things that bring me joy that are outside of the education. But I will still be talking about education. So I'm still listening to podcasts about education, but I will share some other things. All right, so that's it. Episode 18, here we go. Hey, PLN, it's Saturday, April 24th, 2021. And I'm out here this afternoon for an afternoon walk. Slept in this morning, and it was pouring rain. Got out here this afternoon, and I'm enjoying the weather this afternoon. Not wet at all, so I'm thankful for that. This afternoon, okay, so I'm going to tell you a story about another part of my life. I don't know many of you know that, but I'm an avid fisherman and fly fisherman, and I really enjoy the whole act of fly fishing and the process and the learning and all that. So I am listening to the Fly Fishing 97 podcast. So I'm sharing with you something that's outside of my regular sharing wheelhouse, but something that I've started listening to more of is fly fishing podcasts. And it's exciting, just like listening to educational podcasts like Teachers on Fire, where we get to learn about the teachers' lives and things that they do. This podcast is about just guys that one of the guys, I can't remember his name, but he's interviewing all these different fly fishermen from around British Columbia and North America, talking about their craft and what they do. And I love fly fishing, enjoy it so much. It's spring. I'm actually going fly fishing tomorrow, taking my buddy and my boat to a little lake nearby where I live, and we're gonna go hopefully catch some fish. And he's getting started, so I've got a newbie with me, and we're gonna hopefully get him into some fish and teach him this craft that I love so very much. I tie flies. I've built a little wooden boat. I enjoy river fishing. I mostly love still water, so going out to lakes and fishing chironomids and other still water patterns. So that's what I like to do. And so I just thought I'd share that with you. Happy Saturday. Okay, bye-bye. Hey, PLN, it's April 26, 2021, Monday morning. Welcome to the week. And this week is the last week of April of 2021, which puts us at 1/3 through this calendar year. And we have 2 months left of education with school happening with our students and here in British Columbia. So that takes us to the end of June, and I can't believe it has gone so fast. That's 80% of the school year complete at this point. All right, this morning as I'm out here for Fresh Air at 5, I listened to Scott Noons on Education Today talk to Mike Lawrence, and Mike Lawrence works at Power School, has been associated with Q in California as well as ISTE, and it was great to hear Mike's story and journey from being a English language arts teacher and to being where he is today many years later. It struck me to listen to Scott, how you brought and connected the history that Mike had as an English teacher to his current role as an executive with Power School, and how he brings the tools and techniques of being a teacher to our everydays. And that's what we do as educators, is we make connections from parts of our lives to other parts of our lives, but the character qualities of being an educator don't go away. They never go away. And I see that in my own space, as I am interested in being an educator, not for the profession of education, but to help people get through. And I am thankful that I have this as my job. I bet, Mike, you are as well, as you have done many things, and today you are still coaching and mentoring and teaching and still teaching and doing that teaching thing that has been with you since the early days of your career, and it's going to continue into the future. All right, thanks, Scott. Thanks, Mike. Have a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you soon. About Carpenter, Beyond Education, for April 26, 2021. As I started off this segment for episode 18, I talked about how I was going to share some parts of me that were beyond my role as an educator, and how my life is full and rich, and to let you know a little bit more about me. Relationally, I am married and have a beautiful wife. We have 3 children. My oldest is graduating from high school right now, and my youngest is in middle school. And they're great kids, and I have a daughter who's going to be entering high school this coming fall. And they're a fantastic family. My wife and I have been married for 22 years this year, and enjoy our life, and are thankful for our home where we live. And we are a blessed community of the 5 of us as we go through our days. My parents live nearby in Abbotsford, where I live, and I'm thankful for them, that they can be nearby, that I can help them out and take care of them, and they can take care of us. And my wife's family lives away back in Calgary, where we grew up. So that's a little bit more about Carpenter, and some of the relational stuff that I've got going on. Thankful for my beautiful wife and how she's supportive of me even doing this podcast, and all of my educational journey as an educator and fisherman. And you'll learn more about me this week. Thanks. Bye. Hey PLN, it's Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. I'm out here for Fresh Air at 5 this morning, and it is a beautiful morning, 8 degrees Celsius and dry, and I hear the birds chirping in the background. You might hear them too. And so as I'm walking, I'm listening right now. First podcast out of the gate this morning is a special one to me, because my friend Chris Woods of the Daily STEM podcast has brought to you his 200th episode of Daily STEM podcast. So big hand clapping for Chris. Yeah. All right. Chris, you wrote in a tweet to me and said, it's not about me at all. And you are one humble dude. I appreciate your humility and your quietness in how you do what you do. You do it every week, and you talk to scientists and engineers about STEM and about creativity and about the design process. And you have done that relentlessly for 200 episodes. And that's fantastic. Not only the podcast, but you got your Daily STEM newsletter that comes out each week that's full of resources. You have connections with people and bringing people together. So on today, I want to celebrate your 200th episode, and big hand clapping for you, like I said. And that's one pretty sharp logo that you got there. Chris and I had chatted about a little bit ago, and I helped him design that logo. So thanks, Chris, for allowing me into your space that we could collaborate and change your logo up a little bit. All right, on episode 200, Chris talks with Katie Jameson, STEM Leading the Way. It's a project and website that is out there for scientists and engineers to share their stories, and that teachers can bring their stories of these people into their classrooms. And, talking about humility, Katie's such a humble servant and works behind the scenes to amplify the voices of those that are the quiet workers in our society, engineers keeping the infrastructure going, water moving, all things like that. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Chris. Bye. One more thing for April 27, 2021. I just listened to Got Tech, the podcast with Eric and Nick. And gentlemen, thank you for your episode and the work that you're doing in advancing this thing called education. And looking forward to listening and learning more from you in the future, and appreciate the help and support that you've had for my podcast as I've got going. So on Got Tech, the podcast, episode 84, they talk with video journalist and educator dude Eric Townsend. Eric, maybe Clement Townsend. So sorry, Clement, about that. I got that wrong. But Clement is a former sports journalist, and he has now brought his craft to be palatable in the classroom as he shares his video journalist techniques through his website, which is Video Journalism Pro. I think it'll be in the tweet properly, and also in the show notes. So take a look at that. And if he talks about how he teaches techniques for video and storytelling and all those things. So it's good to hear him talk about video and how it's an alternative method of sharing stories from writing papers or doing other things. It gives an alternative for students. And he talked about some apps that are pretty nifty. I'm going to have to check out qprompter.com for teleprompting, and about how to keep the story in front of the student while they're recording their video. Thanks, Eric and Nick. Appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic day. And I got to go listen to the joke of the day now on Knock Knock, Who's There podcast. Another one more thing for April 27th, 2021. I just listened to Knock Knock, Who's There, the podcast with Chris and Miles, and you guys should go take a listen to this today. This, I think, is the shortest episode of this that I've heard, because the joke has a twist. Love it, Miles. It's so fun to hear and appreciate you and your dad telling us jokes. So I got material for class today. I'm going to have to tell that joke to my students. I think they'll groan. Okay, back to video journalism and talking about the episode 84 of Got Tech, the podcast that I just talked about in the previous segment. Eric and Nick talk with Clement about his work that he's doing to promote storytelling and all manner of things like that. And in my media class about 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4 years ago, I heard about WeVideo, and I thought, what can we do with that as more of a culminating project? And I didn't teach a whole lot of WeVideo through the year, but I took on the Mother's Day project for my high school students. When you're in elementary, you do the Mother's Day project and you talk to, teachers, and they got the little crafts and the little containers and the flowers and all those things that, you do as an elementary. But as you move into middle and secondary, you lose some of that. And I thought, I'm going to have my grade 9s and 10s at the time do this Mother's Day project and bring some love to mom on Mother's Day. And I'm like, how can we do that in a cool way that they haven't seen before by us just making a bookmark or something like that? And nothing wrong with bookmarks. Super good. So I started up having my students tell a story about their mom, and we used WeVideo and green paper on the wall and did a green screen video of them talking about their mom. And the rules for my video that I'm having them do, and they're doing it even currently today, is they got to have their face on the screen for 7 seconds at least. And they're all like, no, I don't want my face on the screen. But anyhow, it's awesome. I teach them how to make a short link, how to make a QR code. They share that with mom on a piece of paper on Mom's Day, and it's super great. So that's my connection to video. Bye. About Carpenter, Beyond Education for April 27th, 2021. Well, today I'm going to talk about something personal to me that I don't share publicly as much, but if you know me, then you know this to be true, that I am a Christian and I have a faith background that takes me back most of my life, growing up in a Christian home, attending church, and understanding the impact that God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit have in my life. So today I live in a family, and my wife and kids, we are church attenders, Christ followers, and it's important to us because we find peace and joy through the power of the Holy Spirit that we couldn't find otherwise. The pandemic has been hard, but with having a friend like Jesus alongside, it is important to know that I've got peace and I am not worried about it. Do I have concerns? Yes, I do, but I've got someone to talk to on a regular basis and pray to, and I find and see answers to prayer on a regular basis. All right, so that's part of my faith story that I wanted to share with you. And yesterday, as I was wrapping up, and I tweeted out my video about familia, my family. I talked about my mom and dad and my kids and my wife and her family, but I failed to mention my sister. And my sister, she is a creative person. She has an industrial design degree, and she works with artists and creates art and displays art, and it's really nifty to watch my sister in her craft that is so very different from the scientist brother that she has. But I see that we're very much alike as being creative people. All right, so shout out to my sister. All right, thanks. Talk to you. Bye. Hey PLN, it's April 28th, 2021, and I'm out here for Fresh Air at 5 this morning. And this morning, it was a struggle to get out of bed, like a real struggle. Like I had to really force myself, and I'm glad I did, to get out and get some fresh air to help clear my head. Right now in my world, we've got a lot of things going on. My son, who had a job, lost his job in this past weekend, and he starts a new job today, so helping him navigate that process. And when you lose your first job, it's hard, and it's not because of anything he did, but because there was too much personnel at the company he was at, and they had to downsize because of an unexpected fire that happened at a different site. So that happened. That takes energy, and I didn't realize how much energy that took until most of the way through my teaching day yesterday. So my boy's back on his feet, which is good, and I'm thankful for that. At work, we have an audit coming, and so we are preparing our documents and making sure everything's in order. And that's on top of the regular work that we do as teachers and as I'm teaching. So yeah, it's just really full right now for me, but that's okay. That's okay. We get full days, and we all do. And you can understand and relate to that as well. This morning, as I'm out here for Fresh Air at 5, I listened to Chris Nessie, Mr. Nessie, the infamous. And you know what, Chris? You've made a big difference in my life, and I appreciate that so much. And Chris, on episode 178 of House of Ed Tech, pulls the curtain back, and we get to see more of who this man is. And he tells stories of woe, and tells stories of hardship, and tells stories of, well, you got to go listen to episode 178. Go listen. You know what? It's a great episode because he is celebrating yesterday his 70th. No, not 70th. Sorry, Chris, far from that old. Your 40th birthday, and he shares his journey with us and is vulnerable. Thanks, Chris, for doing that. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thanks for being who you are. Happy birthday yesterday, brother. Talk to you. Bye-bye. About Carpenter, Beyond Education for April 28th, 2021. This morning, I'm going to share with you a bit about part of the creative side of my life and some of the experiences that I've had growing up. When I was really young, my dad had a Kodak Instamatic camera that you'd put the film in the back and that funny B-shaped cartridge that had the new film in the one side, and then the other side had the other photos that you'd just taken. And that was my very first experience with a camera. And my dad got a Canon AE1 when I was young and began taking photos. And he spent time at Astral Photo across the street in the mall with the guys talking shop, talking photos, talking pictures. And we looked at lots of slides and pictures over the years, and my dad was an avid photographer, and I learned that trick from him, because today we go on a trip and with my iPhone I take, 150 pictures in no time at all of all the things that I've seen, and so I can tell stories. And so photography has been a big part of my life growing up, and for a couple of reasons. One, so that I can document where I've been. I can document and see where and when and who I was with when I was at those places. Google Photos is my way I categorize and curate my photos. And basically, I can just put them in a big pile in Google Photos and search for even keywords in photos like fish, because that's important to me, and other things like that, and family, and looking for pictures of my daughters when it's their birthday, or my friends when it's their birthday, and put them on the screen. So that's important. So photography has been a big part of my life, and I've heard it said that the best camera to use is the one that you have in your pocket. And this one I have in my pocket, as you can see right now, I'm using it to video my thoughts right now, so that I can take that and use that content elsewhere. I enjoy taking photos for creativity purposes. I enjoy using them on presentations and purposing them for other than just taking a photo. So that's one of my favorite things. And so that's something about me and about my creativity. And so I thought I'd share photography with you this morning. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, happy Thursday, April 28, 2021, and here we are 2 days before the end of April, marching into May, and for some of you, that signals the end of the school year pretty quick. We're still about 7 or 8 weeks out here in British Columbia, and I'm glad for that, because I'm not done with my students and the work that we have to do, so I'm really glad for that. All right, this morning on the Good News, Brad News show, I listened to episode 17 as Brad talks to author, an illustrator, an inclusion specialist, teacher, Kirsten Weens out of British Columbia here, Kristen. And it's nice to hear fellow Canadians talk about what they do and how they do with us. And Brad, thanks for including Kristen on your show. So when I first saw the title, I was like, okay, what's she talking about? And it took me a bit to figure out, Kristen, that you are coming out of a learning support services. That's what we call it in my district. And a way of working with students, providing them with a space to teach them self-regulation and including those students in regular spaces. And, my original bias when I saw the word inclusion, honestly, was about the LGBTQ community and how we have our students in our schools that need to be included. And that's a small part of what inclusion means in a school. It's about diversity in a classroom. It's about understanding the differences that students have, from learning support needs like learning disabilities to behavioral needs and all manner of things like that. All of us teachers have some things that we need to make sure that we include in our spaces. I like how you talked about it, about inclusion education and inclusion in classrooms, and not calling it that in the future, but making your job obsolete. Thanks, Brad. Thanks for including Kristen in your conversation this morning. Happy day to you both. Bye. One more thing about my son, Brock, who has started his new job today, and he is commuting to work for the first time over a long distance. Well, his job, as you recall from my conversation yesterday, ended abruptly. and he was laid off, and he started a new job at another company and is excited about starting that new job. He was at training and orientation yesterday here in my town and found out he was going to a job site that on Google Maps this morning at 5 o'clock this morning put him a 58-minute commute from home. That's a long ways. And so anyhow, yesterday was a full day for me. I didn't realize it even when I was talking to you in the morning, but supporting my son through his orientation and talking about things he needs. We went and bought some new school supplies. Work tools for him. Oh, that was so cool to be able to do that and so awesome. So he's commuting this morning and he's almost at work now. And I was up this morning, got out for my walk a bit later because I was taking care of my boy, and I'm so proud of my boy. Just thought I'd say that. That's my one more thing this morning. Bye. About Carpenter Beyond Education, this segment is called My Name. So about my name, well, this is beyond my educational life that I have. It affects my educational life, but I'm going to start back at the very beginning with my name. As some of you know, my name is spelt a little funny. But if you didn't know how to see, if you hadn't seen my name and were asked to spell my name, you'd probably start off with something like Bryan. But that's not me. That's not my name. But others would say that you could spell it Bryan, which again is not like me. It's got an extra stick on that O. My name is Bryon. Now, going back to the very beginning, I wasn't involved in this, and neither were you when you got your name. Names are given to us. Parents give us our names. They're required to give us our names, I think, by the government or something like that. But outside of that, because it's important that we all have a name. The names that we call ourselves are very important. And I call myself Bryon. Okay, I was going on a sidetrack there about how we care for ourselves. Okay, I'm going to get back to who I am as Bryon. And so, looking at my Twitter name there, you can see my name is Bryon. No big deal. I grew up in my home. I knew how to spell my name. I think I knew how to spell my name, but then I went to kindergarten, and the very first day of kindergarten, I think the teacher called me Byron, Byron, and I had to say, no, I'm sorry, Mrs., my name is Bryon, and I had to correct her. Well, I had no idea, and I don't know if my mom and dad knew either at that time, but I was going to have to stand up for my name from then until even now. My name is Bryon, and I have had to correct educators who don't know how to read class lists properly and take the time to read our names. So my encouragement to you is make sure you're reading your students' names properly. Make sure you're checking with them to see if you're pronouncing their names properly, because their names are their names, and it's part of their identity. So this is a little bit more about Bryon. I am Bryon Everett Carpenter. Hey, PLN, it's later on April 29th, 2021, and what a great day it was. Did you have a great day? I had a great day. Let me tell you, I got so much work to do yet, but it's a great day. I got to spend time with my students today, being creative and watching them use WeVideo to work on their Mother's Day videos that they're making for their moms and talking to their moms and learning how to use a video tool and being creative. It was so good. My grade 11s today, I got the privilege of building our school newsletter. So all the content comes from the teachers and our staff that have content and student work that goes into that. And then my students are desktop publishing the whole thing, and we set it up in Google Slides, and it's fantastic. So yes, a great day. Am I tired? Quite a bit. But that's okay. You know, if you're not tired, then you're not working hard enough. So I'm inspired right now. I got to go cut the grass right now and make my yard look pretty. So that's going to happen. And this afternoon, as I was out walking doing papers, okay, so the reason I'm recording is because I listened to a podcast, and it's episode 60 of My EdTech Life with Fonz. And he had Shannon Moore of the 3 Caffeinated Coaches podcast on as a guest. And Shannon, thanks so much for sharing, and Fonz for engaging with her. more about what creativity is and looking at how we make things and why we make things. And I am very much of the same mind from what I hear about Shannon about making things. And, I don't look at some of the stuff that I make for some of the time and go, oh, that's super creative, because I look at people like Fonz and Shannon and Claudio and other people out there. But you know what? We all got our thing. That's our thing. And we got to own our thing and be comfortable and happy with our thing. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And from the West Coast, happy day. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, Friday, April 30th, 2021. It is Friday. It is the last day of April of 2021. It's been a long time that we have been doing this year. And for those that are in the States, in some places, they're going to be wrapping up at the end of May, which is coming pretty quick here. And we've got about probably another 7 or 8 weeks here in British Columbia of instruction. And then we have the wrap up at the end of June. So looking forward to that, and thankful for the way and work that we are doing here with our students. And this morning, as I'm out walking for Fresh Air at 5, it's all getting washed away here. All the stuff that was old, because we've got fresh rain falling, and it's a beautiful morning in this light rain. So I'm out. And it's a bit later, as you heard earlier this week. My son started a new job, so he's up at 4:30 now, has to roll from the house at 5:15 so he can get to his job after an hour commute. But he's doing it, and he's growing in his learning about what it takes to be an electrician and working for a new company. So that's happening. All right, this morning on Sons of Technology, episode 61, Kyle and Joe talk about how we can use the tools that we teachers use in our classrooms to smooth out and streamline some administrative practices in our schools and districts. And gentlemen, thank you for this insight. I've seen some of these things happen in my space, but to hear how you can use them differently in larger contexts, like scaling up in a large high school, that's an important thing. I'm going to be going to check out your YouTube channel that you talked about to get some help and learn about some other ways of using these tools, and Loom extension in Chrome that it integrates with Google. With Gmail, that's brilliant. And even just the fact that we can use the state of the classroom address at the end of the week to record even a video in Screencastify or Flipgrid Shorts or something like that. All right, gents, appreciate it. Appreciate you. Thank you for the encouraging words today. Happy Friday. Bye. About Carpenter Beyond Education for April 30th, 2021. This morning I'm going to talk to you about my work and career path that I set out from at the beginning in high school, when I started thinking about work and career paths and what I wanted to do. My first job was at Wendy's restaurant making French fries one summer, and my family and I had vacation plans, so I only worked 4 weeks that summer. Got a sense of fast food. I didn't really enjoy it. It was just a job. The next year I worked as a warehouse guy at a factory carpet outlet, pulling carpet and cutting carpet, rolling it for the installers, all good. Beyond that, I went to Bible college for 1 year, came back and started at an audio-visual company before video projectors were even hardly a regular thing that we have today. I learned about media, I learned about sound, I learned about presentations and how to make a space pretty so that we can have people in a space. So there was those things that happened, and then I got into university where I started studying science, and my hope was to become a geophysicist in Alberta, and I didn't pursue that beyond maybe my first year as I looked at career paths, and we didn't have any of the stuff that we have today. We had to go to the counselor's office and look at, job opportunities and things like that. And I eventually settled on becoming a chemist and pushed into that to become a chemist. Fast forward to the end of my Master's of Science, I needed to get a job. I worked at a pharmaceutical company in Langley, British Columbia as a research scientist, process development chemist, and learned many things there. while I was there, I began my understanding of education a bit more. When I was in grad school, I learned that I liked working with people. It was so good. So all that stuff has led me to being a teacher now, and I changed careers after 7 years as a research scientist because we got bought out and I got laid off. That's a bit more about Carpenter. That's it for this week. Thanks. Bye. Thanks for listening to episode 18 of FreshAirAtFive, the podcast. This week, I have gone and looked at About Carpenter Beyond Education, where I tell you a little bit more about myself other than what you hear regularly, me talking about education and learning and the stuff that I'm learning on podcasts, but a bit more about my life so you have a better picture of who I am and what makes me tick. I'm so glad that you're here. Thanks for taking a listen. Thanks for sharing my podcast with other people around you. And if you like this, what you hear, give me a review on Apple Podcasts. I'd really appreciate that. That'd make my day. Or even a voice message in Anchor FM on my podcast page, FreshAirAtFive. All right. Have a great rest of your weekend. And thanks for taking a listen to episode 18 of FreshAirAtFive, the podcast. Bye. As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. FreshAirAtFive can also be found on VoiceEd Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.